Good afternoon. I'm Jonathan White, and I'd like to share with you about using OBS Studio for delivering lectures. The first question you may want to ask is, why do you want to use OBS Studio and not something like Zoom, which everybody seems to be talking about right now, or Top Hat, which other people are talking about? The main reason is because OBS Studio is open source. That means that after COVID-19 is finished, one will still not have to pay for the system. My concern with commercial systems like Zoom or Top Hat is that once COVID is finished, they'll probably go back to their old paid versions, which if you don't want to pay, you may lose access to all your work is gone in vain. So I think it's better we use open source materials and learn how to use open source materials, because we know they will not charge in the future. Okay, so let's start. I've downloaded OBS Studio online, and now let's start. I'll open it up. Okay, so I open up, I get this nice blank screen. So first problem you may find is, wow, if you're using a high DPI monitor, you'll find all these settings are way too small. You won't be able to see them at all. So in that case, the first thing we need to do is go back to my PC and find the settings for OBS. This is quite simple to do. So we'll go to our program files. Moving down program files, you see OBS Studio. Go to the binary button, 64-bit. For example, if you were using a Surface Pro 7 or Surface Pro, you're going to have to do this. Check the properties of this guy, and you will see here compatibility, change high DPI settings. This is the button you want to press, and you will note when it starts, it's got override high DP scaling behavior, scaling performed by application. OBS Studio does not perform scaling by application. You just need to switch this little box. Okay? Your DPI settings have now been changed. We'll go back to the program. You'll need to exit it and then restart. This time, your settings should all look like mine here, nice and clear and easy to see. The next thing you want to do is go to the settings menu and start to make some changes. Let's first of all, because we basically don't want our files to be huge. Okay, so we need to change one audio. Switch to mono. This will reduce your file size by about a factor of 2. Okay, let's move to video. Okay, if you have a high DPI ratio, okay, in this case, I'm working on not a high DPI monitor, so these two aspect ratios are make sure they're the same. 1024, the same as my monitor, same as my monitor. Okay, so if I'm not a high DPI. If I was a high DPI ratio, I would have to make sure this is set to my monitor's DPI, and I have to change this one so that the aspect ratio is the same. Okay? And finally, output. I want to make sure my output is going to FLV files. And I would want to make sure mine using a software X264 encoder. Okay. My goal here is to generate good quality lectures, but using the smallest file size possible. Okay. All right. Okay. Now I can apply this. Okay. Now it needs to be restarted to reset these settings. Okay. Yes. Okay. Let's restart. Our settings are now applied. One more setting we can continue on. This one we don't need to recharge for is we need to set a shortcut key to start recording. Now, you want these shortcut keys to be something that you don't usually use. So for me, I find that most of my software I use, like LibreOffice, my browsers, don't have a shortcut assigned to Control Space. So I will use Control Space to start recording and Control Space to stop recording. Another key function that we're going to have in recording is control the pausing. So I'm going to use a Control comma to pause and a Control comma to unpause my recordings. All right, so for me, I'm using these settings because I am going to be recording my lecture before my students read. If I was going to do streaming, then I would probably set these guys rather than setting the recording ones. Okay, I would do the same shortcuts. Okay, so let's apply them. Okay, now I need to start to add things that I want to show on my screen. Okay, I want to add my sources. Let's first of all add. Okay, I'm obviously going to want to capture my display. Okay, because I'm teaching, I'm not doing a game. Okay, display, and I'll just call this monitor. Okay, and make the source visible. All right, now I can check. At this point, check. Okay, that's okay. Let's make sure. Do I see my whole display? Look inside this red box. Am I seeing my whole display, everything I want to see on my screen? If yes, I don't have to do anything. If no, which maybe you may have this problem, you need to start to just adjust here to make sure that everything in the screen is within this red box. Assuming everything looks okay, okay. All right, at this point, like if you could adjust here if you wanted to make sure all the screen sees everything you want. So right now, my screen is showing everything. On a high DPI monitor, you may have to tweak this a little bit. Okay, so now I've got my monitor on. Next thing I need to add is my video capture device. That's going to be my camera. Okay, I'm going to add my video capture device, and I'll just call it camera. Okay, and I want to make it makes the source visible. Okay, great. There I am. Looks good. It's matched out okay. All right. Okay, now you can see me. Great. Let's move. For me, when I'm teaching, I want my students to be able to see the PowerPoints more than seeing me, so I'll just put myself in the corner down here. Okay, so the students can see me, but I'm not the main target. Okay, so now I can then move to whatever program I want, and then we'll be able to start recording. We'll do that in the next short YouTube video.